everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stateside Footy, the biggest little soccer podcast on the internet. Of course, I'm your host, Steve Silver, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight on this wonderful Friday night. I don't know what you guys are up to, but I definitely am happy that you guys decided to tune in, talk a little soccer. Of course, before we get in to tonight's I guess you could call it a hoedown, a shindig. Go ahead and smash the like and subscribe buttons. But also go ahead and share this on your social media platforms as we are trying to obviously grow the channel. Definitely appreciate it. So, all right. Interesting week of soccer. I got to be honest with you, I was absolutely just blown away. Starting on Tuesday, of course, was the Champions League, the first round, if you will, of the new league format over there across the pond, and we saw two very good matches. Starting with obviously Captain America, Christian Pulisic, and AC Milan versus Liverpool, and of course Winston McKennie and his in Juventus. Taking on Malik Tillman and PSV. That was also an interesting one because I think that also set the record for the most U.S. internationals playing together in one game, and that one was 5. So that was kind of an interesting one. And of course, a little bit later a couple days later, we had Celtic taking on Bratislava, I believe. So we had Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty in that one as well too. So very good stuff going on across the pond. And of course, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the MLS playoffs, the MLS Cup playoffs, excuse me. Actually, more specifically, the Audi MLS Cup playoffs. Let's just not get that twisted. We want to keep this real. We want to keep this real. Of course, I kind of teased a little bit on X today. That I have talked with a few folks within U.S. soccer. So of course, certain things could happen with the show. So you're going to want to continue to tune in as we move deeper into this thing, because we're going to have some pretty interesting guests. So I'm looking forward to that one as well too. But specifically for tonight, if you want to be involved in tonight's show, go ahead and drop one into the comments, and we'll talk soccer tonight, man. It's going to be absolutely fun. So let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned before, obviously the Champions League U.S. men's national team had a lot of involvement with the first week in the Champions League. More specifically, AC Milan was taking on Liverpool. A very good match on a Tuesday night over there in Milan. 3 minutes in, Christian Pulisic scores what I would consider a beautiful goal. Takes the I guess you can call it takes a pass in midfield, runs it down. What I liked about it was that he had the opportunity to pass, but that being said, he burnt past. God, what's his name? I'm so terrible with names. Oh, Jesus Christ, from the Netherlands. Anyway, burns past him, could have made the pass, decided to take it in himself. Beautiful finish. He did play the entire 90 in that game. 2 chances created, 49 touches. He had three touches inside the final third. And he had 5 passes into the final third. It was kind of a mixed bag for Christian Pulisic because in the second half there, as Liverpool found its second gear, he kind of got burned a little bit there. There was a 15-minute lapse where, he wasn't all that great. But that being said, it was Liverpool. They stormed back, obviously win 3-1, but still was a very inspiring performance from Christian Pulisic. Also, by the way, he now leads U.S. internationals in goals in the Champions League with 9. And that's significant because the second place guy on that list also played, which was Weston McKennie. They played PSV. And, that's the thing with the Dutch teams, right? Because there has to be context, right? Because PSV is probably the best team in the Eredivisie. And when you break this down further, it's an off year for Feyenoord. It's an off year for Ajax as well too. So okay, fine, you're taking advantage of the schedule that's in front of you. Not a problem. Not a problem. But when it comes to the Champions League, moreover, a team like Juventus, that quality is going to show very quick. And this was much like that. Winston McKennie had a very good game. He had 2 chances, scoring on one of them. I had him rated at a 7.6. He was very good. 2 chances, obviously buried one of them. 38 touches, 2 passes into the final third. He was absolutely brilliant. And this is the weird thing about Weston McKennie. This entire drama with Juventus over the offseason, will he or won't he come back? We heard that he was beefing with the new manager there. There wasn't going to be a place for him in the team, so go ahead and find a new home. Winston McKennie said, "You know what? We're not playing that. I'm coming back." Signs the 1-year extension, and now we're wondering whether or not Weston McKennie is going to get playing time. Sure enough, he finds himself back into the rotation, gets a start here in the Champions League, and takes full advantage of it. And so now we're wondering whether or not Weston McKennie is going to play himself back into the starting 11, for Juventus. These are the type of matches where 100% you can see it. And we will find out. We will definitely find out moving forward the role that Weston is going to find himself in. These are the type of performances that tend to get your season going. The weird thing is like last year, Weston McKennie, led the team in assists. And of course, the Italian media is acting like, oh, well, Juventus has fallen so far down that, one of their best players is an American player. Instead of actually giving the guy his flowers, they still continue to act like he ain't shit. But, motivated, in shape, Weston McKennie is a phenomenal player. Speaking of PSV on the other side of it, not a lot of great news from that. And again, it's one thing when you're playing in the Eredivisie where you're going to put up pretty solid numbers. I don't think that goes without saying, right? Because half that league is crap. In this one though, Malik Tillman, I have him at a 7 rating. Played the full 90, created 2 chances, 48 touches. I think he had 1 touch in the opposing box, 2 passes in the final third. It wasn't a great performance by Malik Tillman, but that being said, I wasn't necessarily expecting a lot from PSV in this one. Richie Ledesma played 86 minutes, had 104 touches, 14 passes into the final third, but it didn't necessarily tell the story because Richie Ledesma, it wasn't a great performance all the way around. And Ricardo Pepi had a 6 rating, only 13 minutes played. I think he only had 4 touches, and again came on late and just didn't provide anything. But that being said, it's not surprising. The quality of Juventus and the way that Juventus was playing, they didn't leave a lot of opportunity for PSV to do much in that game. By the way, Timothy Webb made an appearance, playing in 21 minutes, had 15 touches, and that's actually fantastic that he is finally back on the field. This is actually going to be a very big thing moving forward for the U.S. men's national team because they need that speed down the right flanks. The guy that has that ultra set of burners where you can stretch a back line a little bit, these are the type of things that the U.S. men's national team needs. And so it's nice to see Timothy Weah out there as well, too. And, of course, I mentioned earlier Celtic had a 5-1 win over Sparta Bratislava. Cameron Carter-Vickers played 85 minutes, and he played well, man. He really did. He had a 7.5 rating in that game as well. 215 touches, 6 passes into the final third, 4 of 5 ground duels. He was absolutely fantastic. And Austin Trusty came on for the final 5 minutes for Cameron Carter-Vickers. So Austin Trusty made a little appearance as well too. And I think in the context of the center back position, it's always nice to see this. Now, granted, you have to, again, take it in context. It's Sparta Bratislava. It's not FC Barcelona. It's not that. But, it's something. So that is week 1 in the Champions League. And I got to say, man, I was absolutely happy, man. Seeing Pulisic and seeing McKinney get on the end of a couple, it always makes me smile. We can talk about the downturn of the men's national team starting a little bit before the Copa America. Obviously, that tournament in itself, and then obviously the last international window. And we can talk ad nauseum about want, desire, the need and the commitment of the national team, but these are the type of performances that you look at and you say, okay, well, I know they're good. Scoring in the Champions League, man, it's not the easiest thing to do. Scoring in itself really isn't exactly the easiest thing to do, but it's nice when 2 of your guys that are projected to be in your starting 11 are performing at an extremely high level. It lets you know that, yeah, they're pretty good. So to me, that's what I just love to see. I like seeing Cameron Carter-Vickers have a nice performance there. That to me was a very big want, because again, this isn't the Scottish League now. And I understand it's part of Bratislava, but that being said, man, it's better than anything in the Scottish League. So next week, obviously, the next round of Champions League begins, so we're going to be on top of that as well. So let's transition a little bit, and we'll get into Major League Soccer because I think it's kind of interesting. Before we do, again, go ahead and smash the like and subscribe buttons, and go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section, and we will definitely talk a little bit about the beautiful game, and just exactly what you think as well too. How did you think our U.S. men's national team players fared in the Champions League? Go ahead and leave your comments. Yeah, man, let's have some fun tonight. So I wanted to get into the MLS playoff race because this week was just crap. Seriously. This week in Major League Soccer was absolute shit. It was funny because after the weekend where we had El Tráfico and we had Hell is Real, and we had some tasty, spicy matchups in Major League Soccer, we have a midweek pile of shit. And the crazy thing was, it literally did have a lot of implications for the playoff races. On Wednesday, when a whole bunch of teams needed to either take care of business against a bad team or be at their best against a quality opponent, almost everyone basically threw up on themselves. On the slightly embarrassing side, LAFC drew 1-1 with Austin. My beloved Seattle Sounders drew 2-2 with the shittiest team in the West, the San Jose Earthquake. And this is after Jordan Morris gets a first half brace. But San Jose came back to, San Jose came back to get their 3rd tie of the season. Okay. And then Colorado loses to Sporting 4-1. Seriously. Colorado, who's very much looked good against a team with only 31 points. And I guess that you can say, well, there you go. But Sporting, on the disappointing side, but not a total calamity, Houston draws 1-1 with Vancouver, and Portland. This is the crazy thing. Portland. Now, mind you, I like Portland. Let's not get twisted. Portland's really good. They beat the shit. Literally beat the ever-living shit out of LA Galaxy 4-2. And this is after the Galaxy had a 4-2 win of their own in El Tráfico. And the crazy thing about this was the one thing that I liked about it, especially in El Tráfico, was the fact that LAFC had 2 games in hand, and so there was always that belief that, okay, cool, LA is whatever, the Galaxy are chilling in first place, but LAFC has 2 games in hand, and that can easily be taken care of. But nope, because LAFC themselves this week, by the way, they drew. Like I said, man, they drew with Austin, so there was no ground gained. So that that at the top of the Western Conference standings still is a 5-point margin. Is a 6-point margin, between LAFC and the LA Galaxy, 5 between them and Real Salt Lake. But, Colorado getting blasted by a team who entered the day on less than 1 point per game is unbelievable. Seattle blowing a late at home, against the future wooden spoon holders is an absolute disaster, and it doesn't bode well. This is the crazy thing. For any hope of a healthy Pedro de la Vega returning Seattle into a bona fide, that one was stunning. That one was absolutely stunning. Because, Seattle obviously is sitting in 5th place. And, the crazy thing is both Vancouver's got 2 games in hand on Seattle, 1 point back. And then both the Portland, Minnesota, Portland, well, the ones that matter, Portland, Houston, all also have a game in hand as well too. And that was the match to give them a little separation there in the 5th spot, potentially overtaking Colorado for 4th and pushing their way upwards to LAFC. But it is what it is. So, speaking of which, LAFC have forgotten how to win and have only taken 6 points in their last 7 MLS games. Unbelievable. We know that anything can happen in midweek matches in Major League Soccer. Those things shouldn't have happened, though. Now the West is somehow even more clever. 5 points separate 2nd place Real Salt Lake and 7th place Houston. Portland is one of the hottest teams in the league, is only 2 points behind the Dynamo. Oh, and now all of a sudden the LA Galaxy feel catchable at the top by both Real Salt Lake and LAFC, except LAFC forgot how to win. Essentially, the West threw up all over itself on Wednesday. It's a great reminder that we might be looking to a playoff bracket drowning in parity. 8 teams in the West look like bona fide contenders to make a run once we've reached the postseason. Some are more bona fide than others, but the differences between tiers are minuscule right now. This thing is only going to get weirder as we get closer to deadline day. 100%. Oh, remember how we all were wondering whether LAFC would be getting better with Olivier Giroud? The early returns are kind of intriguing to say the least. In the 4 starts that Giroud has been available or been in, excuse me, LAFC are 0-2-2. He scored once in 428 minutes across all competitions. It's not necessarily been an immediate success whatsoever. That's kind of the interesting thing, because I remember that in the summer, the heat behind Olivier Giroud. I think we all realize the talent that LAFC possesses. Boguj, Bouanga, Eriksson, Altesta, Giroud. I think come playoff time, in the way that the playoffs are set up, and in the manner in which they're played, I would probably assume that LAFC are going to be a dangerous team. But that being said, the way that the West is shaping up right now, it's going to be interesting. I will say that, to me, there is one team that I have as a sleeper in the West, and that's Portland. They're not going anywhere, man. We've spent too much time talking about teams that didn't have their life together on Wednesday, and we need to focus on the team that did. The Timbers absolutely hammered the Galaxy. LA had their moments in the attack, but Portland were able to were able to out Galaxy the Galaxy. With their big 3 leading the way. Jonathan Rodriguez, Evander, and Felipe Mora all found the net in this one. And interesting enough, they are the first attack in Major League, 3-headed attack in Major League Soccer that have 14 goals, at least 14 goals. All 3 added an assist in this one. Collectively, they're up to 42 goals. Collectively. Each has 14 on the season and 31 assists. 42 goals is more than 11 teams have this season. There is no better attacking trio right now in Major League Soccer. There is not one at all. It just does not exist. That is insane. Insane how good Portland is right now. Since the midway point of their season 12 games ago, the Timbers have earned 1.92 points per game. That's the 4th best mark in the West in that span. Even more impressively, though, they've created and allowed chances at a projected rate of 1.86 expected points per game. Only the Crew have been better, and it's a marginal difference. Portland's XG4 in that stretch is a league best 2.18. Their XG against 1.34. 7th best mark in the league. I understand, man. I understand they got flaws, defensively specifically, but they have improved significantly over the second half of the year. It also doesn't matter. It doesn't matter all that much when you can turn your 3 stars and turn the game over to their 3 stars and ask them to put 2 goals on the board. This group is for real. Whoever faces them in round 1, good luck. Good effing luck. Seriously, Portland, and it sucks for me because obviously I support the Sounders. I'm a big Sounders fan. And when I look at what Portland does and I look at what Seattle does, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. You have 3 guys that literally are lighting the world on fire when it comes to XG. And we have 2. We literally just have 1, right? Jordan Morris has been hot forever. And, of course, our go-do-anything piece, Albert Rusnik, has been pretty good as well, too. But that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it. In the East, though, as we turn our attention to the East real quick, I think it's important. The East isn't as interesting or as good at soccer right now. I can't believe we're at this point after everything we've talked about leading up into the season, but it's undeniable. Undeniable. The West is better. Pound for pound, the West is better. 150%. Without a doubt, the Western Conference is miles better than the East. Don't get me wrong though. The top of the East is as good as it gets, right? There is a clear gap between inner FC Cincinnati and Columbus and everyone else. That the rest of the year feels like a formality until we get to Cincy Columbus in the conference semifinals. They'll be playing for a chance to take on Inter Miami in the final of the East, and that's pretty straightforward. That being said, I want to give some praise to Orlando City, who they moved up, in 2 months, and they won 2-0 this week. Charlotte's a nightmare right now, and we really need to talk about how this team could get so demonstrably worse after adding 2 DPs in the mix. But it is what it is. You can only beat whoever is put in front of you, and Orlando has been doing that, for some time lately. I think it's interesting, right? Orlando City has moved their way up to 4th, finding themselves in a little scrap with the New York Red Bulls. They're at 43 points in the East. But that being said, right, there's a huge discrepancy between 3rd and 4th, Columbus and Orlando City. Speaking of which, they're meeting up pretty quick. So I think that's what today, right? The Lions are heading to Columbus. I don't think they have enough juice to hang with the East Big Three, but a win kind of changes everything, doesn't it? Seriously, right? So you're looking at the wild card, Toronto, Philadelphia. As of right now, it would be Toronto, Philadelphia. DC might have an opportunity to snag it, maybe. Right now, Philly and DC are tied on points. And then you have, Atlanta and Nashville 1 point back. It's possible. I don't see it. Do you trust Nashville or Atlanta? Not really. Do you trust DC? Nah, not really. So it's weird, right? So Charlotte, NYCFC, New York Red Bulls. It's weird, right? Like, of the teams in the East that you were like, you're kind of like, okay, so you got, okay. It's like, is there anyone outside of the Big Three in the East where you're kind of looking at it, getting your collective juices flowing for this one? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe Orlando. Maybe. I don't know though. I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. But the reality is though, fireworks are yeah. I'm curious though, because we saw what Seattle did in Leagues Cup, right? Or it's weird because Seattle. I don't know if you guys know this, but with that tie with San Jose, the Sounders are 19-4-5. No, excuse me, 19-5-4 since April 28th. I don't know if anybody was paying attention. Seattle's imperfect, man. They're getting absolutely nothing on the wings. Their attack is literally straight up the middle. Pedro de la Vega has yet to really, what's the word I'm looking for? Put his stamp on things. He's a DP guy. I understand he was out for a majority of the year, working his way back from injury, but now he's on the field. If this team is going to have any reasonable shot, you're going to have to get some production outside of Jordan Morris and Albert Brusnik. That's when I look at teams in the West, I look at I look at them and I'm like, they have far better attacks that are operating on such a higher level that even if Seattle gets, Pedro de la Vega in the mix, and he's starting to look like the DP that he is. I still don't think that's enough. Seattle's defense is kind of sketchy. They're not the formidable home team that they've always been historically. It's just a different feel this year. I mean, it's fantastic that they've been able to go on that kind of run. By the way, that's including Leagues Cup. But that being said, man, 19 wins since April 28th across all competitions, 5 draws. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Well, I'm gonna call it early tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been fun. Go ahead and like and subscribe the video. Go ahead and share it as well too. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. So we'll see you on Tuesday. And I believe we have some guests lined up for Tuesday. So look out for that on X. Also look for it on Instagram as well too. And of course those social media tags are now in the ticker. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Have a great weekend, guys.